7 p.m. We'll call our regular council meeting to order for July the 14th, 2026. The only remarks I have is this: after this meeting, we start the summer break, and we don't meet again until August 25th, which will be a fair little break for the council. Notation of councillors in attendance. Thank you. Could I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Brewer. All those in favor? Contrary minded, if any, motion carried. Do we have any declaration of conflicts of interest to declare this evening on this agenda? Hearing none, we're good. Delegates, we have Ashley Jensen, Director of Recreation and Parks for Central York Recreation Park Strategic Plan for 2025-2030. Gizzy Valley report. So Ashley, welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here this evening, as always.
Thank you. Very excited to present to you guys. So I'm going to open this up at any point in time. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, like, feel free to shut them out. Don't wait until I've finished and you've lost your train of thought.
Just make sure I have your attention so everyone's not talking at once before you get your question out. So.
Yes, and I understand that I am presenting quite a bit of material, so even if you take, maybe 5% away of something you remember, take these documents with you when you leave, and that way if you have any questions afterwards, I'm here to answer them as well. So to start things off, we're going to look at the strategic plan for 2025 to 2030, and this is based off the Central York strategic plan with the recreation component. So the plan builds on some shared goals to enhance recreation in our community. It's also to ensure that every resident has accessible, affordable, and inclusive opportunities for recreation. So our mission, vision, and mandate is a simple one, but it's very powerful. It's about ensuring every resident, regardless of age or ability, can participate and benefit from recreation in our community. This one, in case everyone was wondering.
It's on the back side of our agenda.
It's slightly different.
The one that has our agenda attached to it.
This one?
Oh.
Mine looks
This
like.
one. Yes,
That's coming up next.
this is the one we're doing right now.
It's in here.
This one's different.
Yeah, it just has 25, 2030.
Do you guys have this one?
It's attached to our agenda.
No, the one on our agenda is, well, it looks different, the pages are different, but hers is that.
Other one. Kevin, you've got it in your hand, right on the left-hand side?
Mhm.
Yep, left-hand side. Good.
It's not here.
Good. I think there's two copies.
So they have this in their council package.
Yeah.
It's in their council package.
Okay,
The separate ones are the sort of needs
because
assessment.
there's two.
Mhm.
So one's the needs assessment,
Yeah.
one is the strategic plan.
Yeah, and this will be the plans in the council package.
Just turn over your agenda and it should be good.
Okay, so we'll be clear as mud by the end of this. Yeah, right.
There.
Sure, we'll follow along. Okay, so it's about accessibility, inclusion, and connection. So it's building a stronger sense of belonging across Central York. Our vision looks to the future to see what recreation is not just a pastime or an activity, it's kind of the foundation and well-being of our community. We want to celebrate our rural roots, our outdoor adventures, our teamwork, our shared spaces, and the beautiful community that we have. So our mandate is focused on the service delivery and how we kind of turn this vision into action. So it's great to have all the wonderful things to say, but if we don't do anything about it, it's meaningless. So this is going to include looking at our facilities, our programs, partnerships that we have responsibly and strategically, and to make sure that we have sustainable recreation in our community. And it meets the needs of what we're looking for and the residents are looking for. So over the next 3.5 years, this was a 5-year plan, but we're now at 3.5 years. Our work's gonna be guided by 5 key priorities. So they're gonna cover our spaces such as the arena, our natural assets like trails, rivers, and parks and green spaces. It's also gonna focus on our youth, seniors, and families to ensure that our programming is exactly what the community is looking for. We could have all these wonderful ideas of what we'd like to have, but it's at the end of the day, we're doing this for the community, so the community has to have that input. So how are we gonna be able to do that? So looking at facility development and expansion, we'll be able to plan effectively. Our first major step was completing a full facility inventory and condition asset of the arena. It gave us a baseline of the data that we have, what's aging, what needs immediate and long-term needs that we have. We're on this page. We're doing wrong. We're also right now into the feasibility work and concept design of the arena property. So it's looking at assessing potentials for expansion, costing scenarios, and ensuring we have the right information to make the informed decisions that we need moving forward. If expansions or improvements are approved, we'll be getting ready to do phased upgrades across all municipal owned recreation spaces, not just the arena. It's going to ensure that we move forward in a financially responsible and staged way, aligning with the community growth and needs. So our community programming and engagement. The municipality will continue to expand program offerings to youth, to seniors, to families, and to our seasonal recreation. It's also going to include building on what's working and finding and filling the gaps that are identified by our residents. We will launch and maintain a community calendar, and that'll be on our new website. So the residents have a single space to be able to see programs, activities, and events that we have within our community. It also will help that when we're planning these events that we can see where there might be overlap or competing events so that people will have the ability to attend to multiple things instead of having to just choose one or the other to go to. And then partnerships are going to be really key as well. So working closely with the schools that we have, community organization, shared spaces, and helping to co-deliver programs that will increase opportunity without any major cost increases. So our outdoor recreation and our natural assets. My first step was taking stock of our outdoor recreation assets for our trails, our waterways, our natural spaces, so we can understand where they're currently being used and how frequently. We also will develop an outdoor recreation and trails network plan. So this will tie together our signage, our trail linkage, future expansion, accessibility upgrades that are needed into one coordinated strategy. It's great piecemealing things together, but if we don't have everything mapped out of what we need for the future, you kind of can't see your milestones and getting to where you need to be. So we'll plan to deliver trail improvements and launch an outdoor annual event called Explore CYRC, or Explore Central Rural Community. It'll help to celebrate our rural identity and kind of bring the community together in a nature-focused activity. So our inclusion, accessibility, and affordability. So accessibility improvements will be a major focus. So this will include addressing ramps, signage, accessible washrooms, ensuring that facilities meet standards and our community needs as well. I will explore recreation subsidy and fee assistance programs throughout the province and federal programs as well. So this will be able to help reduce barriers for families, seniors, and youth that might need it otherwise or might not be able to participate due to the cost. And then across all programs, the municipality is going to champion embedding inclusive practices to ensure that scheduling, program design, facility access are always a welcoming environment for everyone. We've already started with this initiative, and for our ball hockey, we've actually partnered with the Special Olympics New Brunswick to offer and open up to families that might need accessibility and have a space to come and play. So they've championed it on their side, and it's a partnership we've just started. So, our partnerships and governance, we'll establish a Central York Recreation Committee to bring community members and volunteers and local partners and organizations together to guide recreational development. The call has already been started, so we've already started on this initiative, and we'll have more details to come in the near future on that one. We will also develop an update of facility use process with our policies, our rental guidelines, governance procedures to ensure that we have fairness and transparency and consistency with all of our recreation facilities. And we're going to publish an annual recreation parks report to communicate our process, the participation that we're having, investments, our priorities, and to ensure that council and residents can stay informed and engaged. So, a connected and active Central York rural community. So, this plan provides a high-level roadmap, not for just recreation, but for community growth and well-being. It will reflect on who we are as a rural community, that we stay active, we stay connected, and we're proud of the natural spaces that we have. So, with council support, we're going to make this vision a reality to ensure that recreation continues to grow and thrive within our community. So, on year one implementation, that's the 2025 year, which is the one in purple. My main focus was building a foundation for the next 5 years. So this is a more detailed plan, and it is a living document. So what you see here is updated almost every Friday. And it's going through, so as we grow and develop, this plan will also change and grow and develop. So it's not just a stagnant document. It'll be evolving, and that's how we change our milestones. So that was my first, right off the hopper when I first started in November, was developing this 5-year plan and detailing that out. I started the call-out process to the Recreation Committee, which I had already mentioned, by mapping out community groups, school partners, volunteer networks, and this will help with, again, right from the community perspective on how we're going to move forward with recreation. Yes. Can I ask a question? Yes.
Sure.
When you talk about, like, that you reached out to the recreation committee, do you mean more than one, or just one, like, that was in all the areas, like the different one? Okay.
Yep. I also, we had hired in a formal capacity a Keswick Valley Arena supervisor, who oversaw daily rink operations, scheduling, and some community support. I had also completed a full facility inventory and condition assessment, so we're going to get to that later on this evening. And it'll determine the state of the arena, its usage, future needs, what the barriers, and that sort of thing would be. Yes.
You're aware that the Capital Service Commission, Gentech, has done an inventory for rec for all 13 municipalities. Have you gone into that? Central York should be implemented in there to some degree to what we.
No.
It might be something you want to look at just for a bit of rec inventories.
They did that before we owned anything.
Okay, so it's.
So they need to update it.
Yeah.
Okay. So to support community and programs, oh sorry, I need to put your hand up. So to support community and program awareness, we'll develop an annual recreation community calendar, which I had already mentioned. So we're currently working on that website, and we'll have a space where again we can update everything. So that's something that didn't get completed in 2025, just because we're waiting on the website development. So once that's good to go, that'll be ready on my end. And then we also completed an inventory of outdoor recreational assets, looking at trails, waterways, green spaces, and that sort of thing. So year 2, this is where we currently are, which is the pink one. In January of this year, my work shifted more towards consultation and planning and long-term direction development. So I began by developing and launching our Recreation and Parks Needs Assessment Survey, which again, we will talk about right after this. And that was to help understand the baseline of recreation programs we currently have in Central York, the current assets that we currently have and how they're being used. It also helped identify what gaps and our needs are. Starting in June, we had 9 Central York rural community summer students start. And they started introducing pilot programs. So we have our ball hockey, which was one program they started in June. And we also have a recreation camp, which actually starts next week, which is very exciting. So we plan to evaluate participation, which will help us guide our future planning. So after the camps are completed, we will be doing a parent survey as well to find out, what worked well, what didn't work well. The summer students are also going to do their own feedback to find out, was it worth having the camp, was it not worth having a camp from their perspective? And then throughout the day, finding out from the kids, what tasks they had, or what events or themes or games that they had that they really enjoyed, and kind of take that all back in to be able to see if that was something worth doing. I'm currently in the process of developing the facility use and rental policies. It's just to make sure that we are fair and we're transparent with our current users across all recreation spaces. On the accessibility front, the recreation committee, as a whole, we will develop an accessibility improvement plan. So looking at the short-term things that we can do, the long-term things that we need to do, and that meet the standards of New Brunswick's needs for accessibility. Facility planning continues with concept design and kind of preliminary costing based on finding on the recreation properties. And the recreation committee will also help develop the outdoor recreation trails network plan, which I had previously mentioned. And this will identify some linkages, some signage, and some recommended things moving forward that we should have. And then at year end, I'll present everything to council, and kind of look at some options and what my recommendations would be for next steps based on all the work we've done for the year as we move into the next year. Which brings us into 2027. That's the green one. So this is where we kind of turn our hopes and dreams and community feedback into visible improvements for the residents. So the Recs and Parks will partner with schools, clubs to share facilities, resources, and hopefully increase our programs locally. So we know that there's a gap on programs that we do and don't have out here. So it's finding the spaces in order to offer those other programs and where we can have those. So successful pilot programs from 2026 may turn into regular offerings, which will include youth mentorship, senior fitness, and some family events. To reduce financial barriers, the Recs and Parks will also look into recreation subsidies or fees, assistant programs to make sure that there's equal opportunity for participation across the board. The Rec Committee will also be implementing the accessibility improvements that we have outlined in 2026 and see where we can to move forward in 2027. And it could be barriers such as ramps and signage to start small and kind of look at how we're going to move forward with the long-term vision. Outdoors, that's where the Rec Committee will also help establish the partnerships with the trail groups and volunteer for support and trail improvement projects as we move forward. And then at year end, we will launch the recreation annual report. So again, this will share our achievements that we have up until this point, reflecting back on our needs assessment survey that we had already completed prior, and then define some resources that we might need. And that will move us into 2028, so the yellow box. So in 2028, the emphasis is going to be based on growth and expansion of programs. So it's going to be looking at further finding and securing funding and looking at strengthening some outdoor recreation opportunities. So we're going to look at funding for arena improvements. We're going to look at expansion, look at applying for provincial and federal grants and pursuing partnerships for all of our recreation Central York owned spaces. So if approved, we'll begin a detailed design and improvement phase for recreation facilities across Central York. So the trail plan will move into action as we begin trail improvement projects. So making sure that our signage is already up and there, making sure that if there's any surfacing that needs to be done, and any accessibility upgrades that we need for the outdoor trail network. I will also be looking at the policies that we've already done in previous years and seeing if they're still current, if they're still working, if there was any issues with it, looking at scheduling, facility use, and that sort of thing. And then, if any of those need to be updated, that will be something that will be brought forward to council for any updates to that. And then year 5 implementation, so it's the final, 2 years of the plan. So it's evaluating, our program, so any of the completed major work that we've done, setting the stage for the next cycle for the strategic plan. So we'll continue our program growth and looking at our partnership and seeing if we can strengthen anything there, working with other local organizations within the region, for support delivery. We'll hopefully kick off our Explore Central York event, which is going to be that outdoor activity to support and emphasize our rural roots out here. So if approved for funding again, we'll phase our construction and facility expansion, completing the major improvements we have with the arena, and any other Central York facilities or assets that we have. On the accessibility front, we will evaluate the process of inclusion goals, so making sure that we've looked along the way to make sure we're exactly where we want to be on the accessibility front. And then again, at the year end, we'll be doing a full report over the 5 years on the recreation side to make sure that everything we had set out to achieve in the first year and throughout the 5 years has actually been met. And if not, we can identify where the gaps are and why the things didn't work the way that we had always planned. So it'll also look at then looking at the crazy to think 2031 to 2036 for our next cycle for our Central York strategic plan. Any questions? Yes.
When you talk about like, improvement to trails and, summer camps and the summer students that are hired, like, is that just focused on, like Bird's Corner and around the arena and all those trails that you talked about in the first?
No,
Or is it
so
like in multiple?
yeah,
areas?
so except for the arena specifically, because the arena's the Bird's Corner. Anything outside of the arena is across Central York. So it would be looking at trails that we have all the way up near Crab Mountain, all the way to Bird's Corner, Keswick, Zealand, Essex Road. Like, it will be looking at everything from recreation side for all recreation Central York. Yes.
Yeah, so you're talking about trails wise, like the old railroad tracks, and you're talking about snowmobile trails, that'll be your.
Yeah, so it'll be partnering with the province on that to see where our gaps are, and that'll be working with the groups that we have out here.
Yeah.
To see where our improvements are. Again, the people that are on the trails are the ones that know the trails, so we'll be bringing them into the conversation, making sure they're part of it because they are the primary users of the trails. Same with the community from that perspective. And having those conversations and working with the province to see where we can do development.
Cause I know besides the rail, they're doing other trails are all privately owned.
Yeah.
That's all private, with all private landowners.
Well, that's maintained by the Wheeler clubs too.
Yeah.
But it's like, ATV club only has the railroad itself, snowmobile club has other accesses over towards Kingsley, Estes Bridge, up towards Crab Mountain as well, Springfield, but
Yeah.
again, besides the railroad, the rest of it's all privately owned.
So that's where there'll be a conversation on what development could look like in future years and kind of moving on.
We still need to work to get a connection across that river somewhere,
Yes.
so we can connect to all the other municipalities' trails.
And those main roads that don't have a connection to a trail, like the 660.
Have we ever thought of like a suspension bridge, walking bridge? There's one down that coast that's kind of cool.
Anything that can get us across that river, whatever somebody comes up with.
So that'll be part of the plan on having those conversations, seeing what we could do, meeting with the province, having those conversations, having conversations with other local communities as well. So we want to be able to get connected with other communities, and then we have some barriers that are there. It's, even if it's a partnership type thing, but that's part of the whole process. It's like having the conversation and starting it off to develop a plan forward.
Are we allowed to advertise these walking trails as though they're community property or not? Like if we say come walk our trails, but you're walking on private property.
You need it like an Estes Bridge.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, most of the trails that we go on are owned by, they're owned by somebody.
If the community center is using them, there's there should be no
Well, I'm
problem.
not talking just Essex Bridge all around.
No,
You're-
if the community is using that.
Yeah.
As part of their trails or usage or whatever, there should be no problem with advertising. Because there's obviously an agreement somewhere that they can use that. So.
Yeah.
See, with the snowmobiles, there's no problem across the river in the winter. You have the ice, but the ATVs is a totally different story of trying to get them to Hanwell
Yeah.
and Harvey and
But even-
side of the river.
But even the snowmobiles, it's a very short window of when you're able to cross, 'cause it takes so long to be able to freeze.
It's not so major.
It's brought up to me a few times and myself too, the highway usage permit, did we ever look into that to kind of getting that moved along so that, we can give more people access to the trails?
We started that in year one, and what we're waiting for is the ATV club to tell us what they want for hot permits. We don't have that, it hasn't been provided to council,
They provided that a year ago.
the hot permits.
Yeah, the requests, but what the issue is that they're waiting for Quad and B to GPS coordinates on along the trails.
And that,
And, oh, sorry, we don't own any roadways. We have no, we don't own any private roads or provincial highways. We're only able to do a bylaw for something that we don't own. Like NACWIC has their bylaw for ATV usage. in
Yeah, it's
town.
quite a few communities around in Brunswick.
Yeah,
that do
but
share
they,
that.
and NACWIC owns their own roads, but we don't own anything. We can make a request, but,
we have to do it through the province.
yeah.
I didn't realize they had them into the province, so they are in there, and the province is trying to figure out.
No. We have the requests from North York. We have the list of North York Bridge runners of what they would like to see as a highway usage permit, but we're waiting for Quad and to GPS these trails in order to do it properly.
Okay, so we are waiting for one of the
It's something
clubs.
to happen, yeah, yes.
So it would be one of my goals to really attack that and get. it
Yeah, if they
kind of
could get, like, if we could set kind of like a deadline for them to have that information to us, so that we can get Ashley or whoever we delegate to it to move that along in the process.
That's not up to the ATV club right now. Right now, that's up to Parks and Bean, that's up to DNR. They gotta come out and GPS it, they gotta come out and post it on their pages. Hey, this is now a new added trail to go from here to here. ATV club's already submitted. They're
Yeah.
at the top, they're sitting like this.
I'm just saying, whatever the next group is we're waiting on, because it's been 4 years, to kind of push them and say, hey, like, we're waiting this long, can we move this forward?
It's been a long while, but as our CAO says, we don't, part of the problem, we don't own any roads, so. Whereas some of the other municipality owns streets and roads, and it's easier for them to create the bylaw. We have to be blessed by the province.
Yeah, maybe we find out who the contact is with one of those departments to say, yeah, we're waiting on you guys to get this moving, like, can we set a deadline to actually get that information back to take it forward? 'Cause yeah, if you leave it open-ended with government, it could be years.
Yes,
Yes. Yes, so that'll be one of the things that I tackle, which is one.
Okay, perfect.
I do have another question. I see a lot of talk of accessibility, but I was wondering what are we getting accessibility for? Like, are we talking the arena or?
Across, so any Century York owned pieces of land, facilities,
Like just
buildings,
random?
recreation. Yeah, so accessibility could mean a many of different things,
And
but
public buildings are already accessible though, right? So I was just curious, like what, I don't know, I'm trying to think of what we would be doing as far as accessibility goes on buildings or trails. Like a trail is pretty accessible, it's, you need a chair to go down or walk it or whatever, right?
yeah, but it also
But
depends.
as far as the buildings go, just is that they're already accessible. Any public building has to be accessible by law. You can have wheelchair ramps and everything, right?
It does, but accessibility changes, again, let me use the arena as an example, but there could be any building. Technically, this building is not accessible because
Yeah.
there's no ramp and there's a lip to get in, so someone in a wheelchair couldn't actually get in
Sure.
unless they went over the lip. So it could be they needed a ramp built at the front of the building.
Yeah.
So accessibility codes change, with modern technology, with development, accessibility you know, in the eighties is different than accessibility now. So it's going through and looking at, you know, even trails.
Yeah.
Trails that have gravel or wood chips are technically not accessible. They need like a paved flat surface. So like that's where like accessibility has changed over time. So it's looking at, you know, what yes was accessible then is maybe not accessible now.
Yeah.
And that's where Accessibility New Brunswick comes in. So they're a group that comes out and actually does that
I
assessment
assume
for
there's
us.
funding for that for us.
There is one.
So when you're talking trails, paved trails, is it, are you talking about the one, like a walking trail, or are we talking trails through the woods?
Yeah, it could depend. So it could be if we look at the property that's over near Larry Gould, might have presented on like what the plan might have
Yeah.
been, and there was an area where it said trails. Because we're building something new, we would do obviously not 80s accessibility, we would be doing like the current accessibility to make sure that anyone that's coming and using that brand new facility or that now new outdoor space
Yeah.
is completely accessible.
Okay. I was worried with things like this, like we want, especially outdoor spaces, you want an outdoor space to be an outdoor space, not a
Yeah.
paved walkway, right? There's a
No.
million of those around, and we
Yeah.
want one of those.
And accessibility could be like picnic benches. So I know when you buy a nice wooden picnic bench, if there's not a certain distance at the end of a picnic bench that like maybe it's too short on either ends, now it's not accessible for someone in a wheelchair that might like wheelchair up to the
Sure.
picnic with the rest of their family
Even
on
though
the
that's
bench.
sit down on.
Right? So it's accessibility, not necessarily on like must be a paved trail, must be a ramp, must be a sign. It's looking and working with Accessibility New Brunswick to look at, you know, how accessibility can be in different areas and different usages.
I just heard a lot of talk of trails and stuff, and I worry about paved trails. Like paved trails around.
That's expensive.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Yeah, yes, very much so.
Any other questions, comments?
Okay, you guys are still stuck with me for a while, so we're gonna carry on to the next
Carry on.
thing. Perfect, okay, so we're gonna look at the Central York Recreation Parks Needs Assessment Survey. So this is the survey that was completed in just January of this year. So we're gonna look at the results from that survey so you can kind of see, you know, yes, we have our strategic plan. This was the voice of the community, and that's also inputted into the strategic plan. So I could have a plan that I've developed that I think is great, but if the residents, based on their feedback, don't agree with it, the plan needs to change. So that's what we have to do with the needs assessment survey. So this was the voice of our community, and making sure that when we implement things, that it's from the perspective of their wants and needs. So before getting into the survey results, I want to kind of take a step back and talk about why recreation parks matter in the first place. So in 2023, the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association, in partnership with the Canadian Fitness and Lifestyle Research Institute, that was a really long name for two different groups, they published a national report titled The Price of Inactivity and Measuring the Powerful Impact of Sport, Physical Activity and Recreation in Canada. So in their study, they found that roughly 51% of Canadian adults between 18 and 79 are not active enough to meet the recommended physical needs and guidelines in Canada. So what's even more concerning is that 72% of children aged 5 to 17 are also not meeting the recommended activity levels. So it means a significant portion of Canadians are missing out on physical, mental, and social benefits that come from participating in regular recreation, sports, physical activity. It also means that as I was reviewing this report, several themes kind of stood out to me, particularly the broader impact recreation has within a community similar to ours. Again, we're rural, it's easy for folks in the city to have access to facility programming, where we're rural, we maybe don't have as many things, and that's why we're trying to develop that. So it raises an important question for us as a municipality, and it's what role do recreation parks and community spaces play in the health and well-being of our community, and how can we best support it moving forward? So because recreation is much more than just programs and facilities, it kind of plays that role of shaping our overall health and our connections and our quality of life just as a community in a whole. So from a health perspective, recreation contributes to improving overall population health. So that's looking at improved mental health. It's looking at reduced risk of chronic diseases. It's looking at improved physical well-being, and even creating the increased productivity. So recreation also plays a role in creating the strength of the social fabric of the community. Sports, physical activity, and recreation, they kind of help that stronger social network, greater social cohesion, increased social capital. I know that many of you have maybe played hockey or pickleball or basketball or any other sports, and you have your teams, your groups, the same people that you're consistently playing with. You look forward to being able to go to those, and those are kind of acted as not just, yes, you're moving your bodies in a physical state, but you're also being able to build that mental connection, that social connection that, you know, I definitely can see, and the report can also see that it's something that we are missing. So these factors also contribute directly to community well-being. So it also helps with increased volunteerism. So if something is really fun and there's a bunch of friends that are doing it, getting other people to be able to volunteer is one thing that is really, really difficult nowadays. So that also helps increase that need. It'll also help reduce crime. So if people are busy having to go to sports, they're not out doing riff-raff things. It also helps the stronger local and community development. So again, if people are using spaces more frequently, maybe you need additional spaces in order to, you know, grow the offerings that we have in the community. And it also gives us a sense of community pride. So like myself, I'm a hockey mom. I did not think I was ever going to be a hockey mom. I thought, yes, we'll put my son into hockey, all will be well, I will sit there. And I think by the second practice, I was on my feet yelling, hooting and hollering, and I was like, so this is what it means. So, you know, it's that sense of community pride. So like to say, like, I'm a Keswick Valley Stars parent, super proud. So that's where it helps kind of build that community pride with recreation. So recreation also intersects with environmental sustainability. So when we talked about like the parks, the trails, our green spaces, it's looking at our access to nature, which we are very fortunate to be so rural and in nature. It also helps our improved air quality. So, you know, you sometimes see the, you know, predicted air advisories, and we're sometimes in the clear because we don't have such a hard dense population. It also looks at preventative of being able to preserve our natural spaces. So again, when I had come in and we kind of looked at the Larry Gould field, looking at how we could preserve our nature spaces as opposed to going into that area and just clear cutting all of the trees to build something. It's being able to work with what we have in the space that we have, also being able to preserve it. So when we talk about recreation and parks planning, it's not just talking about fun activities for families, youth, and seniors to be able just to go to and then leave. It's looking at the long-term health benefits that we have and the vibrancy of our community in a recreation setting. And it kind of leads me into why we ask the community to be able to participate in the survey. So, why we ask the community? So the purpose of the survey was extremely important for us as a municipality. First, we wanted to better understand how residents currently use recreation programs, parks, community spaces across Central York. Second, we wanted to identify any barriers and gaps that may be limiting participation, whether it be, you know, accessibility, could be scheduling, could be awareness that we don't even have programs out here that we do, and it also could be the types of opportunities that we have available. Third, the survey helps us guide future planning and programs, facilities, outdoor recreation, ensuring we're investing in areas that matter most. Again, we could have those many wonderful ideas as a collective group, but if it's not what the community wants and needs, we do this with them, not for them. And finally, we look at how this will help us with our priorities. So again, we have that 5-year strategic plan, and we have the recreation strategic plan. So that is our benchmark based on the survey on how we're moving forward and what they're looking for. It also gives us an option to like reflect back when we do another survey to see if we've hit the markers and if we've improved in the areas that the community is looking for. So for the survey overview, our survey was open from January 19th to February 2nd, and we received 89 total responses. Of those responses, approximately 97 were completed online, where 4 were submitted using paper, 4% were submitting paper copies. So we were able to make sure that we had accessibility for residents who decided to not use a digital option to be able to fill out the survey. The average completion time was about 17 minutes, which shows and suggests that residents actually took the time to fill out the survey. So they were thoughtful when they were going through the questions, and we got meaningful feedback. It wasn't done in 5 minutes and click, 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 and they're done. Overall, it kind of provided that valuable snapshot of, you know, the community perspective and how that leads to our recreation and parks we currently have. So who responded? So the responses received were a broad range of residents across the community. So the highest level of participation came from those that were 30 to 44 and 45 to 64 in age groups. The survey captured input for both individuals and households that actually have children in as well. So approximately 76% of respondents represented adult-only owned households, where 24 responded household with children. So it kind of gave us that snapshot of the perspectives moving forward. We also saw strong participation from long-term residents. So 72% reported they've lived in the community for more than 10 years, alongside input from newer residents who submitted the feedback as well. So our current recreation participation. So when looking at how often households participate in recreation and community activities, responses show that participation was weekly, about 32%. Participation also varied throughout the year. So the highest levels of activity reported were actually during the summer months, while spring slowed slightly for our lower participation. So it also helped us understand our seasonal demand and where opportunities and expansion could be for adjusting programming. So the results show that recreation and participation occurs year-round, but activity levels shift depending on season, availability, and types of opportunities that are offered in our community. So satisfaction with recreation and parks. So several of the questions on the survey were used something called a Likert scale. Have any of you guys ever heard of a Likert scale? So it's commonly used in surveys, and it's a method to show allow respondents to show their level of satisfaction on a range from very satisfied to very dissatisfied. So as we move forward and put out additional surveys, because this is the first one, we consider this our baseline data. So this is the first time we've ever done it, where we're kind of starting at based on what we currently offer. So anytime that we have this, it's a reflective of this feedback we've received. Next time you do a survey, you're able to benchmark it and benchline it back to the baseline. So that's what the Likert scale does. So when looking at the results, so satisfaction with recreation opportunities was reported moderately low. So with 59% indicating they were neutral or dissatisfied. So with neutral responses, where someone doesn't feel strongly, so they don't feel positively or negatively, that just becomes neutral and is considered in the dissatisfied. Because you want a positive experience, and that's where it's going to benchmark. So that's what the Likert scale does. So anything that's neutral is considered dissatisfied. Satisfaction with parks and green space conditions was actually much higher. So it's 92%, indicating they're somewhat satisfied or satisfied with our green spaces. When asked about feeling safe while using parks, trails, or outdoor recreation spaces, it was actually split 50-50, indicating not that they were, not that they weren't. So it also helps us kind of as a municipality to see how we're performing and where opportunities for our improvement could be. So barriers to participation. So when asked what prevents residents from participating more often in recreational opportunities, several barriers emerged. These are not just Central York barriers, they are barriers across the board from, chatting with other recreation directors, chatting with City of Fredericton. So we're not unique, which is great, but it's also an area that we're able to look at and say, how can we improve? So the most frequently identified barrier was scheduling conflicts. So limited programming, lack of awareness of available opportunities, and financial or physical accessibility. So these barriers varied somewhat depending on the age group and household type, but overall the message was consistent across the board. So there's a clear interest in participating, however, participation is often limited by practical constraint rather than just a lack of interest of actually going. So the positive takeaway from this is that many of these barriers are areas the municipality can influence through program planning, scheduling, communication, and accessibility considerations. And this is where leaning on the recreation committee will be very strong. So making sure that any programs we have within recreation has a voice at the table, right down to being able to create the schedules for their programs, making sure that we're, yes, you're never gonna have it perfect and there may be some that slightly overlap, but instead of having the same programs happening every single Monday and now you have to pick and choose, it's being able to work together to be able to see how we can schedule together versus just as individual groups. So drop-in versus register was really eye-opening, and one of the important insights from the survey was how they preferred recreation programming to be offered within the community. So across adult programming, there was a clear preference for drop-in style opportunities. So it offered greater flexibility to allow residents to participate without a full commitment in program schedules. This was higher with folks that had children in the household, which I was not shocked about because I myself, again, I'm always taking my kids to their programming, and then it's like, when am I going to have time to be able to do that? For children and youth, however, there was a stronger interest in having registered programming versus the drop-in structure. So understanding kind of the distinction of what adults need versus what the kids are what the kids would also like to have in our community. It'll also help with future opportunities that we have for programming in our community. So if it's something youth oriented, maybe registered is the way to go, where if we're offering adults or any senior programming, having that drop-in style and being that flexible would be the way to go. So programs residents want more of from the adult perspective. So as a reminder, this is reflected from about 87 adult respondents within our community. So this is represented from our vast age range within household types. So residents identified strong interest in expanding programming across several areas. So in terms of physical activity programming, the highest demand included a community gym space, stretch and mobility classes, and opportunities that incorporate like strength training. Beyond physical activity, there was a notable interest in community-based programs. So looking at a community garden, arts and crafts workshop, and cooking classes. So these looked at the importance of offering both mix of like active and social programming when it comes to recreation within the community. And then now looking at program residents want more of for the youth. This would be a feedback for 27 youth within our community submitted by their parents. For children and youth, the highest demand was for an open gym opportunities. It was looking for martial arts and more baseball and softball, with programs being registered based, with the exception of an open gym, because that's obviously dropping. There was also strong interest in guided outdoor experiences, such as kayaking, fishing, and nature exploration. And then additionally, families showed a notable interest in full-day recreational camps during summer and March break. So, again, this was completed in January, and in next week, we start our first recreational camp for a full day. So this is where we're piloting it based off the feedback we've received from the survey. Also, a lot of the outdoor experiences will be drop-in events throughout the summer, so stay tuned when those will be posted. So it'll be getting all family members, youth, seniors, adults together for events as well, based off of the wants and needs of the survey. So the arena and facility priorities. So arena use was reported as moderate, with 60% of primary activities including public skating, hockey, rentals, and events. The usage pattern helped us to understand which assets are most valuable in the community and which areas may benefit from reevaluation or some enhancement. So when asked in an open text format what improvements they'd like to see most at the arena, the top 4 recommendations were increased public awareness of programs and events, supporting year-round use of the facility, making renovations to the parking lot, and updating the large room that's upstairs. So these responses kind of highlight the overall experience and accessibility that the arena is currently used within our community. So our outdoor recreation green spaces. So respondents reported frequent use of the parks, the trails, outdoor spaces, with 67% of residents visiting these spaces weekly, daily, or monthly. So awareness of newly acquired green space was low, with only 9% of residents. However, once informed, 97% indicated that they would likely use the green space if it was developed. So the data showed a clear preference for flexible walking or nature trails, playgrounds, a central space for community gatherings, multi-use courts. They also highlighted the importance of having washroom facilities available. And overall, residents are looking for more passive recreation in these areas, so being able to drop in with families and come and go as they're looking, to be able to relax and just enjoy the natural environment. So the water access and blue trails. So 97% of respondents indicated they clearly participated in or were interested in kayaking, canoeing, or paddleboarding. Awareness of existing water access points was moderate to high at 63%. So it's also suggesting an opportunity to improve our communication and visibility of these drop-in points. Residents also identified several key factors that would encourage greater use. So better parking and drop-off areas, improved signage, access to equipment rentals, and more detailed online information. So aligning with our strategic plan. So the survey strongly aligned with the recreational 5-year plan. Tweaks were made in order to make sure that what we heard from the survey is reflected on the plan as we move forward. This was presented in November of 2025. So the goal for 2026 was to use the data, the consultations, and inform the long-term priorities in this direction. And then our key takeaways. So clearly residents value recreation and parks as an essential quality of life. There's a strong demand for flexible programming, improved access, and enhanced outdoor spaces. So barriers to participate tend to be practical in nature and are largely addressable. And then overall, these insights provide a solid foundation for informed planning, decision making, and future investments that meet the community's needs. So using data to guide future planning. So the survey provides council and myself with clear data-driven direction. It helps us prioritize funding resources, future grant applications, and ensure that recreation parks reflect what residents actually want and need. The recreation needs assessment is just the beginning. Again, it's just a baseline to find out where we were currently at. This will also highlight the importance of our involved planning on what the community wants, and it's not done to the community. And each year, a slightly modified version of this will go out to residents. This will allow us to track our changes over time, so it's not just a one and done. Again, this is the presentation to council. It's a little bit more detailed. I have published a what we heard report so that the residents that completed the survey can actually see what the results are. And then each year we'll be able to benchmark based off of this to see how we're improving year after year, or if we're not improving, where we need to allocate, our direction to. Yes.
When do
Councilor
you,
Anderson?
when do you expect that the survey would go out, like sort of towards the end of the year, every year, or would you have a date for the next one? Or?
Usually beginning of the year. So I work on it, dare I say, around Christmas time, around the holidays. And that'll be consistent, so that way at the beginning of the year, once everyone's kind of back from their vacations, we can put it out. It gives me time to be able to collect data, analyze it, come and present, have our what we heard reports for the public and the community can see that we heard them and we understand something's actually outputted from what they've come back with. And then it'll continue to help us build a plan over time.
So we can inform residents of our ward to be looking for that, and
Absolutely.
you put it out through the Central York webpage probably, or?
We did it this year through Facebook, and then we'll have everything kind of migrated and linked, so you could go on Facebook, you could go on our Central York website. If I post it from, the recreation page, it'll all go to the exact same spot, so that all of the data goes into one spot, and that sort of thing. Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Ashton? The needs assessment survey results?
I guess not a question, just a comment. I'd like to see the next one. I'm very curious. You said you did it on Facebook?
Yes, for this year, we put the.
I never saw it or anything about it, so I'd like to see more people answer that for us. I wonder if that's something we could just have ongoing, or, maybe every couple months throw it back out there and try and get a few more respondents on that.
Could.
I don't know if that
Yes.
makes sense or not.
In all respect, Ashley, she just started in November, the end of November. I
This is
believe.
great.
And then January 29th or 20 something to February 2nd is when she got done that survey. So it was in Christmas holidays in there with all of that. So.
And no, not throwing no shade or anything like that. I'm just curious if we could get a larger kind of, sample size.
And that's where I would definitely be on the counselors for that, to
Yeah.
say like, it's live.
I'm definitely gonna mention it to some folks, yeah.
Henceforth, bring out.
I'm sure the next
You
one
all
will be
think.
much more.
I bet you,
I
yeah.
think so. And again, like my role was very new.
Yeah.
Again, started in November. January, we're putting out a survey.
Yeah.
Not widely
You've done a
known
lot in a short
either.
amount of time. Great.
We appreciate it.
We could do,
I do wanna give a shout out to Ashley, I don't know if the other counselors know this, but Ashley was huge in getting the Keswick Valley Minor Hockey $25,000 with a Kroger Bay Assist. She wrote all the application and was able to get our association $25,000, so I don't know if you're all aware of that. So she's the big push for that.
Good job.
She is real good at finding ways to get us some funds. So that's Ashley.
And I did that in October before I started and had this role, and that was just me as, again, the hockey parent I didn't think I was gonna be. And we were the Atlantic regional winners, so very exciting. Yeah.
Anything else? If not, we'll get Ashley to move on to our next.
So sorry, are we okay if I'm over time?
Um,
Do you want me to fly through the next?
yeah, please,
I could fly.
yeah.
Brace yourselves, we're taking off. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit and look at the ice plant report. So from here. So we had Block and McDonald who services our ice plant at the arena come in January. They also came again in May when they did their shutdown. So when I did the walkthrough with them in January, this has been updated when they came through again in May to do our shutdown. So I'm gonna quickly take you through it, and I say we're gonna fly, so brace yourself. So the ammonia refrigeration system, so that's the ice plant. I'm moving forward, I'm gonna call it the ice plant, that's actually what the known term is. There was a bunch of identified several maintenance, efficiency, and safety issues that were outlined. So the whole point of this was having a technician come and tell us the life cycle, when maintenance had been done, what was needed, what were safety concerns, and that sort of thing moving forward. So that's what the bulk of this report and the next thing that I'm going to be talking about is featured on. So the overview of the ice plant, so it's basically, if you're not familiar with what that is, because when I first started I had no sweet clue what that was, and now I feel like the expert that could like build the whole thing myself. So basically it's something that circulates the chilled brine beneath the ice surface. It makes the slab completely cold, be able to make the ice, therefore we have ice to skate on. That is the layman's terms. The equipment condition and replacement consideration. So our outdoor condenser, and if you're wondering what that is, I have images on the back in the appendices. If you want to know what I'm talking about at each point, you can go and take a look at the back of the report and you'll see what I'm talking about. So the outdoor condenser is currently leaking water. Obviously in summer it's not an issue. In the winter months you can see what that looks like. In order to replace that, it'll be a future capital planning. So it's about $110,000 to $140,000, and that's based on the closing report for this year. So again, that will be based on today's dimes and pennies. so that is one thing. The compressors, so we have 2 compressors in the ice plant room. Usually they're rebuilt every 8 to 10 years. There is no record of them being rebuilt in the last 20. So it's something that they usually recommend doing a staggered approach. You do one year, one another. You wait your 8 to 10 years. You do the first one, you do the second one, you wait the next, that sort of thing. In order to space the costing with that, we'll go over what the costing looks like. Electrical efficiencies and power consumption. So right now we have something that is a hard start. So anytime the compressors kick on, it goes from 0 to completely on as opposed to a slow start. So that's where it eats a lot of our hydro efficiencies because you're having to kick something on quickly versus like a slow release that'll turn it on. It'll also help contribute to the actual, like the life cycle of the compressors as well, instead of like continuously being forced to turn on. Maintenance and preventative work, this is something that is already starting to be done, but again, this was brought up in January. So tree branches need an outdoor condenser, trimming them back throughout the summer months so that the leaves are not falling into it. The brine pump system, so right now it's outfitted to have 2 brine pumps, again, images are on the back. Right now there's 1 brine pump, and Lockheed McDonald has another one for us that they would give us free of charge, and it would only be the labor to put it in because it was taken from another facility. Basically, if the brine pump goes, we have no ice. That's what pushes the brine to the pipes underneath. So they quoted us that the labor and some gaskets would be just over $3,900, but the actual pump itself would be completely free. And what happens is if one goes, the other one acts as a backup to keep it flowing. Training and staffing considerations. So right now only 1 staff member has received training on the ammonia plant, and it should be done about every 2 hours. So it would be opening and closed every 2 hours in between. And then obviously during the weekends where there's more frequency, it would start at the time they come in to the time that they leave to make sure that everything is logged appropriately. So training needs to be done. Safety signage and regulatory compliance. So pipe labels in the mechanical room, door signage, they've all been ordered and have arrived. They've all been put up. So that's something that has already been completed. Reporting the seasonal documentation. So I have asked Lockheed McDonald to do a closing report in detail. And you can go through and see what that looks like. We also have that provided with you as well in the next thing that we're going to talk about. And basically they're going to do a report at the beginning and at the end in detail so that we can make sure that the work that they've recommended we do at the end of the season, whatever's completed, will also reflect in the opening, and that way if for any reason we have an audit of any sort of anything, we have that documentation provided to us. Okay, so on the priority action roadmap, so a lot of this has actually started and been complete. So comprehensive building inspection, water testing, we're going to go through that next. That's all been complete. Don't know if anybody saw, but now we have drinkable, usable, non-gross water at the arena, which is a big hoorah hoorah. It has been decades with a capital S at the end. Decades of really bad water at the arena. So that has been fixed. So we have wonderful drinking water. Ice plant condition review and planning. So looking at the ice plant condition, what's needed, being able to get that detailed report has been completed, and we'll go through the report next. Safety compliance and operational readiness, so that's ongoing. So labeling has already been done. Ensuring that logbooks are completed consistently and accurately, that's going to be something that's ongoing, and we will have training for all staff, regardless of position, to know what the ice plant does and the laws.
Before I completely forget, can you get a washroom sign to point in the new entryway? That was on my list of things to send you a message. But just, I read signage.
Okay.
Okay. That was on my list to send you a message after our meeting.
Washrooms this way.
Yeah, please.
And then preventative maintenance and housekeeping. So again, mentioned trimming vegetation away from the building, disposing of garbage, cardboard, and that sort of thing coming out of the ice plant room. There was boxes boxes, old motors, oil, all the things in there. And big pickup throughout the entire arena will be completed as of tomorrow, so that's a big win. Okay, still flying, bear with me, we're going to the next thing. So this is the Black McDonald, report here. I just realized I have a copy on the corner now. So when you're looking through this, I have some notes on mine. So looking at the miscellaneous wear items for startup, this is just regular maintenance that should be done, to make sure that we are operating as a well-oiled machine. The compressor motor and starter replacement, one has already been replaced, but a second one needs to go. So again, it's doing that one and then the other. And that's just the motor and the starter. That's not the overhaul on the compressor itself. The backup brine pump, so that's where I had already mentioned that they are willing to donate the brine pump itself to us and would just charge us the labor fee in order to install it and change the steel gaskets on it. The MyCom 8A compressor overhaul, so this is the one that should be completed every 8 to 10 years. So you would do one year, one the second year, you'd wait until the 8 to 10 years, and then you do it that way. And again, when you're able to do that, that also includes the going from a hard start to a soft start. So it's slowly getting the compressors turned on versus like automatically going from 0 to 100. Okay. And then you can also see in that as well that there is an email attached to that, and that kind of outlines the price, which we had already talked about for the condenser, the chiller, and some relief piping that goes underneath. So that's what pumps the brine from inside the ice plant underneath the ice slab. Bear with me, we're going to the next thing. So this is looking at the Keswick Valley project planning document that should be in front of you. Perfect. So I've looked at and highlighted some areas here and prioritized them from high, medium, and low. Right now we're in a state of high and medium. Secondary brine pump installation is a recommendation to move forward. Again, the fact that we're getting that for free, not having to pay for the pump is really great for us. Looking at doing the compressor rebuilds, again, so that's that one that you do one year, then the second year. As a high, based on the survey and the parking lot as a phase one, I think it'd be a two-phase approach. Phase one, we have really bad potholes in the front, so much so it even ripped the bottom of my car off, and I spent $1,000 replacing the bottom of my car. So looking at that, so we have consulted or in the process of consulting with the DTI to be able to do a bit of an expansion onto the front of the parking. So right now where the old Zamboni used to come out, there's cement barriers that are there. If we can push the cement barriers back and put the crush down, it actually gives us about 15 to 20 extra parking spaces. So that would be phase one of the parking, basically getting rid of the holes, doing that front part, and then moving on. So we are in TBD to find out the costing for that. First aid room is something that we're working on. Right now, there is no first aid significant designated spot in the arena. Right now, my students and I are all taking our first aid training courses. We did that this morning. We have our second on Thursday. And then moving forward, all rig staff attendants will have intermediate first aid training. So it's first aid AED training as well. So making sure that we have a designated room, which we already do. That amount is just for quite literally the supplies to make sure that we have it. The protective barriers that are considered a high priority as well. So again, we have some that are at the front of the old part, but we don't have any along the new part of the building. So it would take an oopsie for someone to back or pull right into the new part of the building, and then that's cost significantly more than a cement barrier. And that'll be part of the parking lot rehabilitation project to get the cement barriers and that sort of thing. So yes, not a reconstruction. We want to get some damage. So another high priority is the Zamboni's servicing. Usually a Zamboni lasts they said it was 10 years, you can usually get away with longer, but it's at least for up to 5,000, what did they say? 5,000 engine hours. Right now, ours is only at less than half, even though we've hit that 10-year mark on our Zamboni. So I've met with Saunders Equipment. They've given us a quote on how much it would be just to get it up to snuff where it needs to be, but I don't think we're in the market or need for purchasing a whole new Zamboni. So the cheaper option is actually to get it serviced versus buying a whole brand new one. HVAC system, which is, where's another report? Okay, thank you. Yes, so, the building had an inspection, which is this report right here. This is our building inspection report. I will not go through this with you, but if you need a good bathroom read, this is a great buddy to bring. So we had the building inspection done, and, looking at the HVAC system that we currently have in the arena is actually outfitted for an indoor pool. So one, we have an arena that have an indoor pool, and two, Block and McDonald has a component under them as well, just to come and look at that. They have a local team that can look into it further to look at it over, and figure out, you know, what to do moving forward. There's a couple of issues that we have with our HVAC system in the arena right now. Glass fogs up like crazy anytime the temperature slightly gets warm. If the arena is not used consistently throughout the spring, summer, and early fall months, the doors will shut, you come back in the fall, and there's mold. And it's wall to floor, have to come in and clean. And right now we have 2 household dehumidifiers that are running at the arena, and they're being emptied as soon as you get in the morning, as soon as you leave, and by the time you come back in the morning, they're completely filled every single time. So 2 household dehumidifiers are not sustaining an entire huge arena surface. And that's what was highlighted in the building inspection that's here. So the future capital, which I have also on the back page, is something that we can look at after. A lot of that is what's highlighted in the Black and McDonald's report. So that's looking at the condenser moving forward, the refrigeration plan, looking at the parking lot expansion for the second part, which will increase the swamp that we currently have. If you've been there, as soon as the weather gets warm, part of the side of it turns into a swamp and it's just a mess. Looking at the chiller replacement, ammonia relief piping, again, pushes the brine to the cement slab. And then making sure that with the rec committee, we're also looking at accessibility and site enhancements. Very small, as we do that.
Okay, any questions on that for Ashley? She brings through the last part. All good?
Okay, thank you.
Just to comment, well done, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley.
When do you plan the ice going then? This year?
Depending on weather. Usually we do it in September or October. I have an app likes to rent from us, so they can do your comp ice times. Having it not change, but again, it will depend on the weather. If it's 35 degrees outside in September, that'd be really difficult to keep the ice in, because if you look in this report here, when it comes to our insulation, the roof drips onto the ice, and then you can't keep it cool.
That's almost been identified with, or helped with the addition on the side.
Yes.
The heat doesn't come in as well. In the past, we've put the ice in when it's been that warm out in. We've been able to maintain that.
In the past, we've aimed for extending, for us to have it for September 28th. We're wondering if we're gonna be on target for them, asking for the Minor Hockey Association. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing further, Ashley? Very informative. I really appreciate what you put into this and your expertise.
First, thank you. Hopefully I don't take an hour and 14 minutes of your time next time. I'll come and be short, sweet, and simple.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to approval of previous meeting minutes of our June meeting. And I have a motion to approve the minutes moved by Councilor Shepherd, and I have a second. A second by Deputy Mayor Brewer. All those, approve the motion? Contrary to opinion, motion carried. Sorry, I should have asked for errors and omissions before we voted on it, but I don't think there are any. Do you people notice any?
No.
We've just really done that backwards. Business arising from the previous meeting minutes, if we have any. These I want to bring up. Okay, none, we're good. Correspondence, we have none. Committee report, the committee of the whole meeting minutes from June 23rd. I have a motion to accept the committee of the whole minutes from June 23rd, moved by Councilor Gagan, to have a second. Second by Councilor Anderson. And there was one little typo in it, and that's Councilor Manager's name, which is very minute. Just needs one letter changed, and that's the notice, so.
Sorry, where was that?
Committee of the whole, oh no. Just give me a second here. Right under
Pickleball.
pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just one letter.
I think it-
not a
I
big
think
thing. Noted, and we'll change that. All those in favor of the typo amendment? Councilor O'Leary? Sorry, we already had it. Sorry.
I'm tired.
Yes, I am. I'm beat. I didn't get much sleep last night. All those in favor of the motion? Contrary minded, if any, motion carried. Our treasury report will be August 25th for the June and July finances. We'll move on to our chief administrative officer's report.
Thank you. New website and council photos. The new website remains in development and is anticipated to be operational next week. Council photos are expected to take place prior to a regular council meeting on either August 25th or September 8th. Larry Gould Field, our lawyer is finalizing the transaction for the purchase of Larry Gould Field. The process is expected to be completed within the next few weeks. Callie Enfield, our lawyer, has been asked to prepare the deed of gift and transfer documents for the potential transfer of Callie Enfield. The Central York Rural Community, an operational agreement between the KFIT board and council will also be drafted. This agreement addresses matters such as board review every 4 years to coincide with council elections, operational programming budgets, indoor and outdoor space usage, rental fees, and related operational considerations. Council orientation. We confirmed at the previous meeting, Barbara Quigley will provide a virtual council orientation session on roles and responsibilities, code of conduct, conflict of interest requirements. The session is scheduled for Thursday, July 16th at 6:30 p.m. and is expected to last approximately 1.5 hours. I'll be sending the meeting link to your council email addresses tomorrow so you can attend from home. Central York celebration. The Central York celebration will be held on Saturday, August 22nd from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The event will again take place in conjunction with the Canadian Lumberjack Championship at St. Brendan Park in Macquac. As part of the celebration, volunteers from across the community will be recognized. The goal is to identify one recipient from each award, excluding individuals who have previously received the award. A Facebook post requesting nomination will be published tomorrow. Nomination will close on July 29th at 11:59 p.m. And councilors' email addresses will be included in the post. I ask each councilor to select one nominee from the messages received at their Central York email address between July 15th and July 29th. On July 30th, councilors are asked to forward their selected names. Councilors are asked to forward their selected names by July 31st, so the plaques can be prepared. Central York clothing. It would be nice to get some shirts for council and staff that have a logo on them. Other local government councils and employees wear their shirts to meetings, official functions, and community celebrations. If you are supportive of that, I can ensure that we order a golf shirt or a long sleeve t-shirt, whatever you prefer. And obviously you just send me your size.
I have one home that has a logo, one of the gray ones, I think the first year you first passed
That
out.
was from our Central York celebration.
Yeah, and I still wear that.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
these ones would be just a little bit better.
Yes.
You know, like a golf shirt or
Mhm.
something along that line. Just if you want one, just send me an email and I'll put in a group order. Business cards. I need to order business cards for council and staff. Council cards will just have your Central York email address, but if you want to add a cell phone number, please let me know by Friday. You can just send me an email again. Or if you want a business card, you just tell me, sorry. And this is the last regular council meeting until August 25th. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your summer, and we will see you at the Centennial Park on Saturday, August 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the CAO report?
Can I ask him a question?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay.
Moved by Councillor O'Leary, do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Brewer. Do we have any questions or comments on the CAO report? Councillor Gayton.
Well, that's okay. Now, the celebration on August 22nd, what's our role there, our role?
Show up and interact with the community.
Dress code? New shirts?
Maybe a golf shirt or
Okay, no, just,
yes.
No, that's no problem, thank you.
Councillor Anderson?
So the transfer of the Callahan Field, does that include the building or just the?
Yes. Yes.
Councillor O'Leary?
Think you'll have some shirts by then for that celebration?
I don't know why we would, if I can get some input by, this Friday, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
That'd be cool. We look like a team.
Yes.
Would jackets be in that too?
We could do something in the fall for that. Or, I mean, I could do, you can do jackets if you want. I just thought it was like the summer on August, but hopefully it's still warm.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I just noticed many of the other communities have jackets also. So,
A hoodie or
I
jacket.
don't know that it is. Okay,
Just one more. This Thursday, you have your orientation.
Yes.
You know I'm not gonna be home. Is there any other way you can access something somewheres that,
I'm gonna try to get it recorded.
okay,
So, but I mean, you can do it from the road.
You probably do it off your phone, could
You can do it right off the phone if you want to. Just have to pull over for an hour and a half during your fun times. I'm just teasing you, by the way.
no, I'll be, it's according to what I'm doing that day, might just, yeah, that's done in
we'll let you figure that out later.
I'll be, I'm just teasing you, like, I can try to get it recorded.
Yeah. Well, as I told you earlier, I won't be
Um,
home.
You know what,
Yeah.
it happens, council's gonna have plans. and,
Yeah.
Things happen, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
No.
It's gonna be for you.
But I'll learn as much as I can.
All those in favor of the motion? Contrary minded, if any, motion carried. So move on to the mayor report. This past week saw the third of the 5 years of the PGA Tour of America's Golf Tournament at the Mattingquack course. The event was awesome. Central York as it brings people from all parts of the world to see the vast beauty of our approximately 1/1,000th of the earth. This year's winner was Thomas Pounder with a tournament record 28 under par, an extremely great golfer who will likely find his way to the PGA in the near future. I attended 3 of the 4 days and also attended the kickoff of the Delta on Tuesday evening. On July 7th, I was elected chair of the CYRC Board of Directors. I had been vice chair for the past 2 years, and Mayor Sweeney from Nashwauk was the current vice chair as of last Tuesday. This coming Thursday, I will be representing the Capital Region, which are the 13 municipalities of the rural district, visiting and chatting with medical students that are near their graduation that may have an interest in setting up practices in the region after their graduation and internship. Central York does sponsor a medical student at the cost of $10,000 per year for 4 years, hoping he will set up practice in Central York at the end of his tenure. Unfortunately, I will miss the orientation session at Central York on Thursday evening, but I've been to many the past 3.5 years, and I will be attending the first mayor's school on August 20th and 21st, put on by the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, in which Central York is a member. Would someone like to accept make a motion to accept my report? Moved by Councillor Gagey, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. Any questions on my report? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
So we sponsor a medical student, has any ever came back?
We just
Or
started,
this is just a new
I'll
thing?
let our CAO.
It's called the New Brunswick Medical Education Program,
Mhm.
and we're sponsoring that $10,000 a year. There's a student from Moncton that's just entered their second year, and they sign a commitment
Mhm.
to, because we've sponsored them, and they're supposed to show up for at least 3 years.
Okay.
I know it's down the road, but it's, you know, we, previous council found it promising, and especially based on a lot of us don't have doctors or any primary medical care, so,
So when that medical student comes back and is a doctor,
yes.
they have to take patients that are from Central York.
Well, that's the conversation,
conversation,
yes,
okay.
absolutely, yes,
Perfect.
and it should be the ending. So,
Yes.
And if that student decides not to come here, they have to reimburse them to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Funding. Councillor O'Leary?
Hey, do we have I know we don't have like a medical clinic here, like a small doctor's office, right?
We have one just up the road. We have 3 nurse practitioners in it. but
Okay.
No doctor.
So the idea would be he'd be here and have a clinic here.
That would be the whole.
That would be the idea. Cool.
Any other questions? Not, all those in favor of the motion? Contrary minded, if any, motion carried. So we'll move on to new business, RCMP facility, Councillor Christie Group.
So I was speaking to a few RCMP officers that are in our Central York area, and they've voiced concerns about our facility that's here at the landing. The location isn't secure. The building is drywall. It's not a secure building for them to have computers. Or bring people in for holding. They use the facility mostly for interviews with residents and stuff like that. They're doing a lot of their casework out of their vehicles. They sit there, but they're not using it for its full potential because of security reasons. They would like to have a more secure facility. So I think this is something that they are looking for help. I know federally it's something that they would be getting help federally, but I think they need our help to find a location, is my understanding. So those officers are looking for help, so I said I would bring it to us. Because we need their help, so let's help them.
The CAO and myself, I've had at least 2 conversations. The CAO and myself have had a conversation with some of the officers. There's a long process to try to do that, and I'll maybe ask our CAO. We had a slight discussion about it the other day. It's
So, there's only a few communities in Brunswick that have a direct contract with the RCMP. The rest of us, 90% of us or 98% of us, we're under a contract that the province holds for the next, I think it's until 2032. And yes, as the mayor said, we've heard these complaints. It's interesting because there's so many things happening, and over the last 3 years, it's been about staffing. They don't have enough members, and obviously they're running more mocto. They're doing the whole loot thing that the ambulances do. And so, how to put this? They just started using that facility again down the road within the last few years. There was a detachment at one point, and then obviously because it's not secure, they stopped using it. But they just started using it again as an administrative office. I don't know of any right off the top of my head. It's not usual for local governments to partner with the RCMP to build a facility, if that's what they're asking about. But I mean, anything's possible if you want to, but you really have to put this properly. If you build them something, is it going to change anything? Because we've already talked about, the potential nuisance bylaw and all those things. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but, it should be like an ongoing, like a discussion started. I think it was suggested that we look at trying to find a person to answer our question as far as the nuisance bylaw. Does it necessary, is it not, start from there. And then when you have those people around you, then you can start asking them questions about, facilities. There must be a facilities person for them somewhere, and maybe in Fredericton or somewhere in the province we could communicate with,
Yeah.
see how that stuff works. Nothing's impossible. It's just that, when I try not to do this, but whenever I hear stuff like that, all I see are dollar signs.
It's a
Right.
very, very large investment.
Yeah.
Like if they're, like the RCMP is like federal, right?
Yes.
So if they're having, like, if we can help them find somewheres, then federally they should cough it up to make it happen, right? Is that the problem? They can't find the location? Like, who do we need to talk to? Like,
Well, there's
I
a
can
lot
talk
of-
to anybody.
Well, you gotta talk to the top brass,
Okay,
like the white shirts,
yeah,
not a clothed officer.
right,
You gotta get into the white shirts.
okay. Well,
And you
who's
gotta
that
ask
sure they need to talk to?
I don't know, you've gotta go and ask some questions to see who looks after that.
Okay.
They will direct you to
To
whoever
whoever I
does
need to
this.
talk to.
But it's extremely large investment and it's cumbersome and not to say it can't be done, like our CAO says it can, but it needs to be done carefully. And obviously you would charge them back rent to
Exactly,
compensate for the building or whatever, so.
because we pay for support for them to be here, right? Like, is there,
We're paying 1.1 or 1.2 million right now a year just for Central York.
and if they were in a better facility, then maybe they would hang around instead of not.
But here's
being here.
another thing, they're running a 54% shift right now, staff. If it was 89 or 90 or 95, it'd be a different thing.
Right, but-
Councilor?
So a couple of things on that. I was thinking, not a terrible idea, but it would make more sense to try and maybe centralize that between a few communities. So that we could say, hey, you guys, us, we'll all push the government to give us the thing we want, right? I think sometimes help can be just, lending our voices to what they want. But also at the same time, I'm thinking, do we need an entire police station out here? And as far as holding cells go, I mean, you wouldn't really want people
Right.
like holding cells out
But I
here.
mean, like, when they
Yeah.
they don't bring, that was the thing, like they said, they don't bring people in there because it's like drywall and they don't
Well, I
have
don't think they should
computers in
be
there.
anyways. I think if you have a criminal, the criminal should go to the police station, not an outpost, right?
Right.
That's what they, but if they needed some help doing some renovations or something, as far as a secure building goes, without making an actual jail cell, that's the only.
And not in a strip mall.
Yeah,
with,
cause
like,
you can't,
other
you wouldn't be able to
buildings.
make a secure anything out of that building, I don't think, so. That's what I'm thinking, it's kind of like,
What you brought up's not a bad idea because the policing we get, they do Orlando, Hanwell, Harvey, Nacoy, Central York, Nashua, and Grand Lake. I don't know if I've left any out or not, I think that's all.
Doesn't Nabok have their
I'll
own?
take it for phone, so.
Nabok has their own, don't they?
They have an office, but that's who these police service.
So we, as I said, Main Street goes up there for.
Yeah.
Towards the Heartland area,
It does.
like every area goes through Chipping.
Shipping's Grand Lake.
Yeah, like it goes into that side and up around, back in.
Councilor Manzer?
I said hopefully in the next session, we can kind of get some clarity about what we're actually getting from this, because they're not very visible in the community. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening that aren't really being enforced, so, I mean, I think we need to get somebody in here to get some clarity about how much are they actually here, what are they doing, what are they enforcing, what's the man hours, are they staffing it properly for what we're paying? There's certainly a lot of questions there from the community.
True.
Go try to find information, good luck, you can't find anything And because it's, you know, unionized, they have all these things they can and can't do, so I think there's a lot of questions people have before, you know, so we can understand actually what we're getting for the service.
And we have to keep in mind that the federal government pays 30% of the policing here. They do that throughout all of the budget, so
With the salaries, you couldn't afford it otherwise, so.
70%, so.
Yeah, with the salaries, you couldn't afford it, cause it's unionized and they make a lot of money federally, so.
That's a deputy mayor.
I'm just wondering if the Mackworth facility, I think it would be the same as it is up here, it's not secure.
It's not carbine safe.
No. But have
And
you ever tried
neither
to
is
wear this
The
one?
Grand Lake Minto one is not carbine safe,
No.
or Moncton and Fredericton are.
Well, Fredericton, I don't think they even use that one for.
That's what these guys have to go and change.
That's where the white shirts are.
Yeah, but our officers for here, they have to go there and collect their firearms and change and, you know, patrol there, so.
But they are a bit more visible. The request was made to them that when you're traveling to Mackworth, that they travel the old one, not just up the highway where it's fast. So we do get to see them. They're not necessarily doing what we want them to do, but at least they're driving through.
Oh, I just got a comment on hers.
Any,
Today, two of them went right by my house, one in yellow right behind it, just a slow, just driving along.
any more comments or questions? We're good. Anyway, I think Councilor Manager had a good point, we need to collect this info, we need to, you know, have chats and keep moving up the line and see what the options are, so. Next new business is cell services Central York, Councilor Anthony.
Yeah, I know it had kind of been brought up before, I've had a few people call me on it, just, they don't know what to do, they're stuck, I do know that we had kind of looked into it at one point and were told that they're not gonna do it anymore, basically. I'm trying to get maybe a better answer for them, on the, well, we already tried, nothing we can do, that's a crap answer, so I don't know what to say.
See, that dead area goes from Kingsley Road, right through the 617, and then on up the 104 through Zealand. It's all the same dead area. If we had something done, it would service that whole dead area in all those communities. And I personally talked to the vice president of Bell function, and she was from Quebec. And she said, we have no plans for at least the next 4 years because towers cost millions of dollars. And they can't see where they can recoup that on a rural area.
Yeah.
Someday it'll get done, but right initially they can't recoup it. But in Fredericton, they had 3 new towers put up this past year because they have the population base. They'll get their money back quickly, but we should never give up. We've got to stay after them and see if they can get this area serviced. Like, it's awful. It's a public safety. And we went to a public safety meeting with the minister. Was it last summer or the summer before? Last summer at a function, and we addressed this to the public safety minister. Like, they want public safety, but here we are, people can't use their phone, like landlines are getting to be like dinosaurs. And people rely on cell phones, so they've got to do something to accommodate that. To keep our residents safe. But anyway, he heard all of that and jotted it down, and like I say, Freddie got 3 cell towers this year, so.
Just comment for you, with your landlines too, if power goes out, they're gone. And where I am, this won't work and I can't call Lower's. If power goes out and house on fire, I could drive halfway across the ridge.
I'm in the same boat, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a public safety issue, like it really is, like there's no other way around it, it's somehow it's gotta get addressed.
You can
But
text me.
we will not give up, we will keep pushing it, so Councilor Anderson.
Could we come up with names and emails of people from Bell, like that president that you spoke to, and then just give out the information to people in the community and say, send emails and phone calls, and like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if they you know, if we handled them enough, maybe they would consider it more and.
Full team effort.
We even made the bold statement to the vice president. What if Central York participated in some of the costs? Didn't know what we could do or couldn't do, just threw that out. We don't do that. That was the answer. We don't participate with other organizations. Anyway, that's where that lies. We will keep pushing it, because it's not a safe method.
Well, my main recommendation is similar to what you're saying. I want to tell everyone to call, complain, bitch, moan, tell them you want cheaper prices on your bills because you're paying for a service that you can't use when you're at home. So why would you pay full price for something you don't get to use half the time? That's what I want everybody I know to push, right? Because sometimes they don't care about safety, they care about costs and profits. And if we're saying we want money back because we can't use their service, that will kick them in the ass more than anything, I think.
What I would suggest is that do that, but do it on your own with Rogers and Bell both.
Sure.
I can't give you a name because then I'll be in bad state, so. But if you look it up, look online and look who the top people are, and just get people to keep emailing.
Okay.
And they get tired of that.
But also lobby the CRTC.
That's true too. Do they deal with public safety stuff though? Like, cause that's kind of our main argument. They're saying it's unsafe.
They deal with telephone.
Okay, we will keep trying.
Thank you.
One shape, form, or another. Capital Region Service Commission, Councilor Amy Anderson.
So I just had questions about, we had gotten an email about all the different committees that they were looking for people to volunteer for. But by the time, like, when we got that notice, it was like really close to the deadline, and I know myself, I wasn't quite sure what are all these committees, and is the Public Safety Committee, there's one for the capital region, and there's one for here as well, for Central York, and so I was just kind of wondering if we could have like a.
I'll just give you a brief rundown on the Service Commission, because I believe the Service Commission CAO is coming at a future meeting, right? John Smith will be here at a future meeting, but I'll just give you a Coles Notes version. The Capital Service Commission, some people look at it as the fourth government, and yeah, it can be or can't be, it depends on how you want to look at it. They were mandated by the province. There's 12 of them in the province that makes up the whole province. 12 service commissions. And the commissions have mandated lines to collect money from the municipalities, from our tax dollars. One being landfill, one being tourism, economic development, community development, infrastructure and recreation, public safety. What am I leaving out?
Regional transportation.
Regional transportation. And they are mandated by the province to collect money from Central York and Akawik, all the municipalities in the Capital Service Commission territory, so that they can try to set these things up. Tourism has gone well. The city, they got a contract with the city. The economic development has gone well. They have a contract with Ignite, and of course we have to pay into that from Central York, our share. The landfill, we all use the landfill. It's been running for years, even before the government reform. And one thing I left out was planning. Fredericton, New Ireland, and Oromocto don't participate in planning with the Service Commission, but all the rest of us municipalities do, the other 10 in the rural districts. So that's one of our greater costs, that and landfill. I think the planning alone is $240,000 a year, give or take a few dollars. And the landfill is, like, our garbage is just getting up near $1 million, isn't it? $750,000.
Certain fees are around 220, and then the two providers altogether we're looking at about 680, 690 a year.
Okay. So that's the lines. There's two lines that have always been there: planning and landfill, and then the government reform added 6 more lines. And the commission is still working on some of those. Like I said, economic development and tourism have gone well. We pay a fair dollar into that, and they seem to be, functioning well. Transportation, we'd love to have transportation from here into the city, some form of transportation. We pay very little into it yet because they're still working on it, and they haven't come up with a plan to really get it going. They say they're close when I've asked about it, but I mean, we've been at it for 3.5 years, so. What we pay into that is like, I don't know if it's even
Regional transportation.
$1,200 if it's that a year.
It's very low.
It's very low, but anyway, that's because they're working on it, so. Infrastructure, recreation infrastructure, we thought we was gonna have to build a new aquatic center and contribute to it, but that didn't get supported by all the other 12 municipalities. But there are such things as the blue and green trails that are regional, and the trail connectivity is what we're trying to work on right now pretty hard too. So we can get all the municipalities connected in trails. And of course, we're connected to some degree in waterways, which are the blue trails. They have a CEO, they have a chief financial officer, they have a chief operating officer, and I can't give you the number of staff, but there's several staff members. I don't know, does that answer any of your questions?
Yeah, it just gets better overall.
Okay, so there's 13 municipalities in the rural district, all are in this capital region and pay into it. But anyway, John Smith will be along at a later date, and he will give you in depth because John likes to talk. He really likes to talk.
So every year you can like volunteer to be on a committee?
Yes.
Okay.
No, 2-year term.
Oh, they're 2-year
two-year
terms?
terms. And as I was elected chair, we were stalled almost 2 months because the by-elections, the province would not let the commission pick the chair and vice chair because all of the councillors and mayors were not into the pool yet.
Oh, okay.
So that got delayed. So when we got picked chair and vice chair last week, we had to grade him that day and start picking committees. And there's a lot of people to pick from, like many. But one thing that we stress is people will resign, people will get tired of it over the next 2 years, and that will bring on vacancies if people didn't happen to get on at the moment. So it's a patience game. Yes, Councilor.
So with the changeover, I'm assuming like the PRAC committee would change over as well with the Regional Service Commission?
The Service Commission stays arm's length with PRAC.
Okay.
Totally arm's length. The planning bring their members forward to the board to vote on. The board doesn't pick them, neither does the chair and vice chair pick PRAC members, only the other committees. So PRAC runs separately right out of the planning division. But they have to have the board approval at the end of the day, after the planning commission brings that name or 2 or 3 or whatever they bring. And they reduced the PRAC members from 12 down to 8 in the last 2 years. So there's less of them.
We always had at least one member from Central York on that, usually on that committee.
But that won't always happen, especially after they went to 8.
Okay.
8 members. And we have 14 entities represented, 13 municipalities in the rural district.
So has a call gone out yet for members of our community to put in for that position?
For PRAC?
Yeah.
I'm not informed of that because planning has it themselves. Planning will bring it to the board of directors to vote on.
We already have a member from the community on the PRAC.
Would it be changing over, or is it?
They don't change over unless they leave, and that's when they fill the spot.
Okay.
There's one coming to the board for vote or approval or whatever at the next board meeting. And that's the only one that I know of.
Okay.
It's not from here because we have one from here, but it's not. Lonnie Forbes is the OCC, whatever he is at the planet, he's the top cog there. And he will bring, he sits down with his committee and his workers and his staff, and he'll bring forth a name that they would like to have on crack. And I have heard the name circulated, but I can't say because it's not voted in yet, so. But that's, Prague is arm's length, we need to understand that, that's.
Okay, no, that's the question.
We do not pick the chair and the vice chair with the CDO and the secretary pick the other committees. And the secretary usually has details or knowledge on people's expertise. And they will suggest out of a list of potential committee members. And then, as I say, the four of us sit down and then we select who should be on these committees.
Sure.
And it's not easy. I get emails in 1 week. I get emails of people that aren't happy. And it's the way it is, but then again, we try to exercise, be patient. People will resign, people get tired of it, they don't want to do it after they start doing it. Mayors resign and councilors resign, and that causes a vacancy.
Yeah, that does apply, so that's.
There's a lot of councilors and mayors in these 14 entities.
Yeah, of course.
So,
And they're all volunteers, is that in other words?
of the committees, they're paid a per diem when they meet it. And any money the service commission pays out comes from here, other than the provincial RSSF funding they get, the province provides. So taxpayers are providing the money at the end of the day, regardless of what is forward.
It's all taxpayer money.
That's right. You're good with that until
Yeah.
Mr. Smith gets here?
Thanks for the.
Any more questions on that? If not, could I have a motion for adjournment? Moved by Councilor O'Leary, seconded by Councilor Shepherd. All those in favor?